is time for the Sunday Snapshot. If you didn't know, this is the Sunday Snapshot. This is the weekly show update recap where I go over everything that has happened during the week. As always, we have the first section, which is the Just Be Lucky free-to-play section. I have a picture of a tractor because, of course, instead of being free-to-play, you could farm IRL and then spend in-game. I know that some of you guys don't have the luxury of owning a big green tractor. Probably 99% of you guys don't own one and are not from America, so you probably... This joke probably went straight over your head. As is tradition, I try to typically give you guys, or I try to give you guys what I've seen to probably be like one of the nicer or one of the more impactful free-to-play characters to invest in, or something free-to-play that you can invest in or look into. If you want to make the most out of your time spent on E7, maybe you don't want to spend as much time playing the game, you don't want to spend money. This is gonna come as no surprise, but before you raise your pitchforks, okay, it's Savior Aiden, and now you're probably saying to yourself, Hunter, why are you suggesting her now? I already have her built, and like everyone knows that Savior Aiden is broken. We've just had 9 months, 2 years of aside from the fact that Savior Aiden is on every single defense still, which is pretty telling of how strong she is, and the fact that people are still picking her in RTA. She has been nerfed a little bit because of sleep. This is an insane screenshot that I have. This dies in 1 hit. Since the change to sleep where now you are guaranteed to crit when you are hitting an Aiden, but that doesn't mean that she isn't good as a free-to-play character, because the next thing that I'm going to introduce you to is the wonderful world of PvE. As you can see here, I recently discovered, and some of you guys probably never used this character in PvE as well, but I found out recently that as opposed to running APOC, Arbiter Vildred, Free Spirit Tierra, any of these other characters, Aiden is kind of the solo god when it comes to PvE. I've been using her in basically every side story, every adventure, every episode. So long as you have lifesteal, you know, you have like decrescent and you have health, you literally need no speed, and she kind of just solo counters everything up. But of course, this is not a scam, and this is not me asking for you guys to build lifesteal decrescent Aidens so that I could use it in my adventure. This is a real strategy, I promise. But ultimately, if you're curious about how to build the lifesteal Aiden, I had one of my lovely mod slash viewers give me an example, and this is an Aiden that would do very great. I think I cleared the episode 2 bosses with this specific Aiden, and it looks great because obviously you're gonna be healing a lot and you'll do a lot of damage, and she won't be able to get one shot. So on the topic of my speedrun account and, you know, doing adventure, we have a very interesting segue into the segment, which is, I just wanted to bring some awareness. Number one, to the fact that Artena's equipment crafting event is going on. So for those of you spending energy like I am, make sure to do that. And that's one banner. But something that I noticed that was very odd is there's this new special rewards banner for new heirs. And for whatever reason, this Aether photo looks a little interesting. But that was just, I just wanted to gather your thoughts on what you guys thought about this little Aether photo. I don't know what this Aether photo is doing here, but that is a perfect segue, second segue, into the Speed Rift account that I am currently running. I know we're in a bit of a dead period for E7, and I'm in the process of running this Speedrun Rift account. And as you can see on this very accurate and not made up Google Trends chart, this is the interest in Rift. This big peak right here is initial interest towards Rift, but then the second peak is interest after I reintroduced Rift into YouTube Sphere, or like the Twitch Sphere. So as you can see by this Google Trends chart, not only is this an accurate depiction of Rift's interest at the very beginning, which is very high, and then it immediately went down low because people were like, wow, I could not do this content. But after, you know, Cirilla came out and all the buffs, and technically speaking, my YouTube Rift series as well, the interest came back up a little bit, and people were wondering whether or not Rift was worth it. Is it better to do Rift? Is it better to do Hunt, etc.? And I'm not here to answer those things. What I'm really here to talk about is what I've learned. That while I've been doing this Rift account, I can only achieve one of 3 things nowadays. Either I get to sleep for 8 hours a day, I get to stream on time, or I can progress on my account. This is not good because this Rift account needs to end sooner rather than later, because I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But the other more prevalent thing that I've noticed, or that I've learned about Smilegate especially, is that Smilegate also has a set of 3 buttons, and in true Smilegate fashion, you guys know which one they're gonna pick. That's right, it's Black Friday packs and another buff event for no absolute reason whatsoever. So, Smilegate is doing great when it comes to these things. The episode 3 bug is pretty game-breaking. I already made a video on it. I'm not gonna harp on it anymore. Something that I've learned, especially even more so learned while playing on the new account, is that not only is progressing through story kind of hard, and, you know, we need changes to, you know, like how we get gear and stuff. There's just no charms and there's no catalyst in the game. They give out a few of them on occasion, but something that I've been called out for, people like to talk about, is like, oh, well, like, how come you always need friendship, or how come you always need supports to clear the story? Well, because I have no charms. I only get gear after waiting 3 whole days, and I can't just spam through the game as I like. We need more charms in the game, or we need more access to easier progression methods. So whether that's better gear or, you know, having upgraded characters the way that they give it to us in side story. I don't really understand why the story especially is supposed to be one of like the main appeals of the game, and we're also held back by it at the same time. The next slide that we have is talking about some like foreign events, some like interesting things that aren't necessarily happening in global EpicSeven, but are still worth kind of mentioning. The first is the E7 World Championship, but for China, which I think is pretty cool. Like, I watched a couple of the matches yesterday. There are obviously, like, they have their own meta, and it's cool that they have this stuff. It's very interesting, of course, to see how other servers or other regions play the game. A lot of people always used to talk about, like, oh, Asia likes to play fast. Oh, Korea likes to play, like, slow. Or, oh, global always likes to do this, that, and the other thing. And, of course, like, getting to see more exposure or having more exposure of E7, either through PvP or through any other method, is always appreciated. But something that I think is a bit of like a loss or an L or a fail, if you want to call it, regarding the E7 World Championship, specifically for China, is that I understand that we may not be able to like directly integrate things as easily, or, you know, I get it, there's a language barrier, but I've seen virtually no content whatsoever aside from like some people live streaming the E7 World Championship for China. But the last time that there was the E7 World Championship, there were definitely people making videos on it. There were people like co-streaming it, or people like saying like, this is the really crazy thing that happened in it. And I just haven't seen any of that for this event, which is unfortunate, because it is like about the same size as the E7 World Championship, but for global. But this is the proof in the pudding. If you look up Chinese E7 World Championship, if you look up Chinese tournament EpicSeven, if you look up China EpicSeven even, you don't get anything. And I get it, like, you know, China doesn't really make content on YouTube or anything like that, but if the only way to find out about an event is through Chinese forums, it's kind of unfortunate. I don't know if E7 or any of us can even necessarily do anything about it. I just think it's a shame because it's a really big event, and like, I don't even know where we are technically, like if it's the quarterfinals, the finals, the semifinals, etc. I hope that they end up changing something in the future though, so that we can also watch, or we can also enjoy it, we can also get excited, because right now, unfortunately, EpicSeven has literally nothing going on. And that should be something that holds us over, but it isn't. Anyways, the next thing that I thought was really cool that's going on right now is the AGF 2023 convention. I recently came back from Anime New York City, and I was kind of upset because E7 had no booth whatsoever. No one even mentioned EpicSeven. I saw nothing related to EpicSeven at the convention, and it's one of the bigger conventions, I would say, especially on the East Coast. There were a bunch of gacha booths, but there was just no booth whatsoever for E7. No one even mentioned or talked about E7. I even wore my E7 like hoodie to be like, hey guys, like E7 here, and then no one recognized it, which is like, that's unfortunate. And even though EpicSeven, at least like, you know, based on something you'll see later, is pretty sizable or pretty comparable to some of these other gacha games, there's just no presence of it at all. So being seen at AGF 2023 is pretty cool. Seeing stuff like this is what I wanted to see at either TwitchCon or at Anime New York City. But there's like a couple things that you could have done at the event. I'm not exactly sure what these things are because I'm not there. But there was also this video from G-Clef, who I just want to, you know, run through a little bit. And, you know, G-Clef is like taking photos. Sorry. I love you, G-Clef. Heart you. Thank you for, you know, showing up to the booth. But he was taking some like photos, or he was taking videos of the booth. There's like a really cool in-person thing. You know, there's merchandise, there's like cosplayers, and there's people that are there. But I don't know if I even saw any like specific E7 cosplayers that weren't paid, or like that weren't official cosplayers at the event. That could be for like a number of reasons, of course, but there's like a little gacha spin thing, which is cool. Where was this in the West? Anywhere else that would be really cool? Do you know what I mean? There was also, he's saying right now, there's voice actors that are also there. Very, very exciting. I would love to see this sort of thing also in the West too. I hope that Smilegate sees, or like had a big turnout to this reception at AGF, so that they could, you know, also do it elsewhere. Because personally speaking, I'm not flying out to Korea to go to a convention. That would be a little crazy. But look, there's like a lot of people that are really interested in the game here. This is in Korea and not even China, by the way, right? So very interesting. So there's like the cosplayers, and there's like the little photos that everyone wants to take photos with. Like, and they're like cool looking characters, and they could obviously do this. Look at the the merchandise. Like, look at this merchandise. I would love to buy literally any of these, but unfortunately, according to Smilegate, we have to fly over the merchandise on like Air Force One, basically, and have like gold painted like runways in order to land our products. And like, if I want to buy this Euphine and this Luna, these two figures right here are probably like worth my house to ship overseas, which is like really ridiculous. I hope they change something about that. I hope there's like a way for us not to have to pay $400 for a figurine, but like, it is what it is. There is also Tenebria perfume, which is like an interesting concept for a product, but I think it's very cool. G-Clef goes like a little bit on to like show like a couple of the other things. He shows Gala Lilius as like a big like poster sign thing up on the top, which is really cool. And it was like half and half for the banner, but I'm not going to go too much further about the video. Thank you to G-Clef for letting me use the video or showing off the video. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the revenue for 2023 for November. And so there's a couple things that you're probably curious about. At the top about the other gacha games, Star Rail dropped a lot because, you know, Genshin Impact players are probably going back to pull for Farina, who is super popular and super waifu, whatever. Nikkei, I think, also had like a recent buff or something, or like a recent release, so everyone's playing that game. But all the way at the bottom, not really all the way at the bottom, but in the top 20, we have EpicSeven. And now, like, the thing about EpicSeven is that we somehow maintained 3 million this month, which I know you may be asking yourself, like, is 3 million good? Is it bad? Technically speaking, at one point we were at 7 million, but considering all the controversy that we had with, like, you know, the awakening and should it be included, should it not be included, is sentiment good, is sentiment bad, it's kind of decent that despite us only getting Famir and a bunch of balance patch characters, our revenue has stayed the same. Now, normally I'd be the first to point out, like, hey, Smilegate, you need to change this thing so we make more money. But in terms of changes, they milked us a little bit, not like an insane amount. While we did get a balance patch and we didn't have much of a change in terms of revenue, we also didn't have any content. Now, I don't really know what that means for the future of EpicSeven. I don't know if that means that they're going to try to milk us more because they see that our revenue is the same and it's during the holiday season. But I expect probably December to look a lot different. Now, I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but December is going to be, or December has historically been like when holidays, you know, holiday sales or events go on, etc. I did forget to mention, or I forgot to consider, this does also include Black Friday sales, I believe. And if this is still only $3 million, I don't know if that's quite that good, especially because we're ending near we're heading towards the end of the year. We're ahead of FGO. We're tied with Dokkan Battle in FGO, so kind of good. We're ahead of Blue Archive, also kind of good. We're never going to be touching Star Rail and Genshin, of course, but it is what it is. And so, of course, the next section that we have to talk about is the future, because to preview things coming in December, we are going to be getting Ludwig, who looks pretty cool. He's in like this little like futuristic chair thing. And we also have Plant Lady Lidica. She was kind of teased alongside the Awakening update, but we don't really know when she's going to come out. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because she was obviously announced in the animation in the animation trailer. But in terms of when she's going to come out or what she's supposed to come out with, it's supposed to be a new side story, I believe. Yeah, I don't know if the Awakening has affected her release or done anything for her release. Maybe they were trying to release her with an Awakening, or maybe they were trying to introduce her with like some new Awakening aspect. Maybe you could have gotten Awakening materials from a side story event. Who knows? I don't know. Next, I would like to make a special memorial post to support model Brynnis, who, despite gatekeeping me in episode 3, is probably never going to get released ever again. I don't know where this is from, by the way, but I literally just Googled support model Brynnis, and there was this image, and I think these are her skills and stuff. Brynnis is not real, and I don't think we'll ever end up getting her, but it's unfortunate because, you know, she obviously looks pretty cool. She has a special animation in game, which would lead you to believe that she'd be added to the game, but no dice. This was something that we could also look forward to in the future when we're all dead. And finally, give it up for day 7,800,000,000,000. I can't think of any more numbers for Majin Pity, because guess what, baby? We are not getting it ever. Yes, sir. I hope one day that Smilegate gives us our Majin Pity, but unfortunately, that is probably never happening. Or they're probably going to give it to us as like our big 1 year or 5 year anniversary, 6 year anniversary, something like that. Unfortunately, we are about as delusional as Mr. Krabs for hoping for this thing, but I hope that by submitting this answer into what I want to see in the question of the week every week, they will finally add this. Why would people buy mod boxes and packs if they give us pity? Exactly. That was the Sunday snapshot for this week. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in and watched. I appreciate it. If you want to see this on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all that stuff, you can check out the rest of my platforms. But if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, comment. Let me know what you think about this week in EpicSeven. If you thought it was a dry week, if you're hoping for something else, if you're like me and praying that they're just re-adding back the Awakening stuff in nerfed form, but like still giving us content, please Smilgate. If that's you, feel free to comment as well and argue with the rest of the other people that hate you. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. And of course, I always have the final slide where you say, the end! Woo! Clap for me! And you say, I stayed up until 4 a.m. Actually, I didn't even sleep, technically speaking. I woke up at like 2 and